Imm5533 document checklist for a spouse, including dependent children form. Now you must know that this is very important form. It has to go. You must attach this checklist, including all the pages, as a covering page of your application package. Now we will fill this form. It's you have to click tick marks like this for whatever applies to you. Now, number one, this checklist has to go. So this is the Imm5533 form. So you must attach this. Number two is application to sponsor. Now, in my YouTube channel, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, Tavinder's Bookland. You will find this Imm1344, how to fill this form, YouTube video there. You can fill that form as well. And this is must. Application fee. I will highly recommend to pay all the required fees, including the right of permanent residence fees and including your biometric fees as well, if applicable, upfront, so to avoid any processing delays. Now, this financial evaluation form. So you only need to complete this form if you are sponsoring dependent children of your spouse, and if not, you can write with the black pen N/A as written here. Write any next to the checkbox. This doesn't apply to our case, which we have chosen, so we'll leave that empty. Now, class of application. This is very important to select. In our case, if you're currently living in Canada with your sponsor, if principal applicant is living in Canada with this sponsor, you need to apply under this category, and you also need to include your open work permit application. But in our case, I am currently living outside Canada as my principal applicant, and I am applying into the family class. And your application goes to this Sydney PO Box, Nova Scotia. Now, generic application, again on my YouTube channel, you'll find this YouTube video how to fill Imm008 form. It must be completed by principal applicant and any dependent if there is. And you can download this, if you have dependent, you have to download these forms, and the detailed instruction how to fill up these forms is given here. Now, country-specific requirements. So in the very beginning, if you go to this sponsoring a spouse, partner, independent child, and you add that this is your checklist, and you get the detailed checklist based on the country you have chosen. It's very important to have that specific requirements. And if there is any additional form asked, you have to enter those numbers here. If not, write with the pen N/A. So country-specific requirements. In our case, it does not apply, so we will just click on this. Now, additional family information. Again, this is a very important form to fill and has to be filled online, and you can check this and download this from this link and attach this as well. A declaration, again, for this form as well, there's a YouTube video on my channel. You can go and see how to fill that as well. There's a schedule and background declaration form. You have to write the handwritten signature next to the typewritten name. This is very validate. You have to first type in, validate the form, print out, and then handwritten this form as well. Again, now we're going to both the sponsor and principal applicant. Now, this form, Imm5532, has to be signed by both principal applicant and sponsor. They have specifically provided the sections where the sponsor signature is required and where the principal applicant signatures are required. And don't worry about this. At the end of this checklist, you will find the whole list of signatures only. So it's very helpful to verify that you haven't missed anything, because any missing signature, they will return your file. They will not proceed it. Use of representative. So if you're not appointing any representative, you can just click this and proceed to the question 12, the further question. If you are, then you have to click this and then click on this, that I am appointing a representative. In our case, we are not. We are self-filling this application as well. Number 12 is authorized to release personal information to a designated individual. So you have to fill this Imm5%5. I don't think it's very necessary to do that, and why would you do that? But in our case, it doesn't make sense. But if in any case it may apply to you and you want to release your personal information to somebody, any designated position, authority to release, you have to fill that form and click this. Now, supporting documents. This is very important. It's also helped to understand that these are things you need to have. Status in Canada, if you're permanent resident. In our case, I am permanent resident. I will click on this and you have to submit the copy of your card. If you're a citizen, then these things apply for you, citizenship certificate, passport, or anything. I'm an Indian. Now, don't get confused. This is not an Indian as an India country. It is a copy of the Indian status card, formerly known as the certificate Indian status. This is basically you are registered in Canada as an Indian under the Indian Act. If you're also Canadian, you can also choose to either provide your Indian status card. So this is very different. It's not the Indian you think. Now, are you a sponsor, Canadian citizen living outside Canada? In our case, it's no. If you are a sponsor and you're a Canadian citizen, you can sponsor a person outside of Canada as well. You don't have to be physically present in Canada while you apply. Do you, the sponsor and the person you're sponsoring, have children together who may claim to have Canadian citizenship? We would say no. If it applies yes, you have to give more information about them. Now, previous relationships. Are you currently married to anyone other than the person you are sponsoring? In our case, is no. If it's yes, they have to give the details about it. And have you, the sponsor, it means in our case me, previously been sponsored yourself for permanent residence? Now, for example, that if I have got the permanent residence by being sponsored by someone else. If yes, by whom and on which date of birth of that detail of that person has to go there. In our case, is no. Have you, the sponsor, been previously married? If it's a first marriage, no. If not, then you have to give the details and how many times you have been married before. Have you ever previously been in a common law relationship? Common law relationship is you're not legally married as such in paper, but you're living together with a person in a marriage-like state at the same address for at least a year. It considered as a common law relationship. So in our case, it's no. Now, employment and source of income. That's very important. If you're working in Canada, the sponsor specifically, and you can provide the original letter of the employment, salary, regular hours. And if you're self-employed, you have to get the notice of assessments, and this must include your total income and proof of an income statement and tax returns as well. And you can always download them from your CRA account. Now, this section we're going to fill is supporting documents for sponsored person, principal applicant, and all family members. The identity document, you need to have most recently issued passport for you. So the recent issued passport and includes only the copy of the passport showing the passport travel document number and any stamps. And if you're in Canada, have been previously traveled to Canada, you must include those pages of any passport in your possession which bear any stamp made by Canadian authority. If not, then you can just give the first and the last page of your passport. Also, if you reside in a country different than your nationality, include the copy of your visa, residence permit of your country in which you currently reside. For example, if it's United States, you have to give the copy of the green card. In our case, doesn't apply. So if you, the principal applicant, are living in Canada, you have to give the proof of status. What is the status of you living in Canada? It doesn't apply. You need to have a birth certificate. Make sure it's been translated and it's been notarized if it's not in your English language. Any specific requirements for your country, you need to provide that. In our case, if listed in the country specific requirements for your country, gives a copy of family booklet. Neither of the above applies to me, so I'll check that. Now, these are the civil status documents. Please submit the photocopies unless originals are required by the country-specific requirements of the documents pertaining to your specific situations. If you are legally married to your sponsor, provide your marriage certificate. We will say, yes, we are legally married, and we'll have the marriage certificate or other proof that your marriage is legally registered. And this doesn't apply. Civil status. If you have been previously married and divorced, if you have been previously married and marriage was annulled, provide a copy of the annulment. If you were previously sponsored by another person, those all details has to go there. So none of the above applies here. Now, third section is additional information about children. If you have, if not, write NA next to the each item that does not apply to you. So we will write NA and A right here, and we'll not check anything. Now, police certificates, you and any manufacturer must submit the police certificates from the following countries where you have lived there for 6 months or more, and it's your country of residence. For example, if you've lived somewhere else rather than India, let's say you lived in Doha or Qatar for more than 6 months, you have to get the police certificates from there as well. So in our case, if you are living in Canada with your spouse, you have to get the Canadian police clarifications as well. Now, military services, did you and do any military service? So we'd say no. And if yes, you have to provide the documents. 2 recent photos of your accompanying family members, and there is a detailed instruction. You need to have a date of birth, name, and the studio which has printed your photo at the back of the photo. So you have to click that as well. Medical examination, do not complete a medical examination in this time. They will ask you to do, and then you do the needful. Proof of relationship to the sponsor. You must provide evidence that the relationship between you and your sponsor is genuine. Please review the questions below and submit the documents relevant to your situations. So we'll click on this and we'll provide, are you and the sponsor currently living together? In our case, we are not living together, so we will have to provide the proof of contact, like printed text, emails, social media conversations, and any documented proof of contact between you and sponsor. So it has to be maximum 10 pages. With your application, you must provide certified translations in either English or French for all proofs of contact that are not already in English or French. Proof of the sponsor's visit, such as airline tickets, used boarding passes, photocopies of pages of your sponsor's passport showing entry, exit stamps, boarding visits. If your sponsor did not visit you, make sure you provide an explanation in Imm5533e Part C, Question 4. So in our case, we visited our sponsor, we have tickets and airline boarding passes and communication, have that properly printed and properly marked. Now, provide the following documentation. Please, at least 2 of the following. So you need to provide the joint ownership of the resident property. If it's a yes, only then. In our case, it's no, so this does not apply. And if you didn't check at least boxes, and then this does not apply. Do you and your spouse have any children? We'll say no. If yes, you have to give the birth certificate of them. Is this a first marriage? And yes. Have you and your sponsor been married for a minimum of 2 years as of the date of application? We'll say no, because usually in scenario, if you have married and your spouse is somewhere else, you would like for them to have come to you ASAP rather than waiting for 2 years. So click here if you've answered yes to all of the 4 of the above questions. We haven't, so we will not check that. We'll move further. If you did not answer yes to all 4 questions, also provide photos of your wedding, customary celebrations, engagements, and outings. Provide a maximum of 20 photographs. So in our case, we will have the color prints of the pictures, and I actually provide a detailed PDF basically where I have added the pictures and then added the name and then what's happening in the picture, where it was taken, and a brief description of the context on the back of each photograph, so that it's very evident that what has been done and what is going on. Also, select at least 2 of the following important documents for you and spouse showing that you recognize as each other, such as employment or insurance benefits. So I've added my spouse into my group benefit, and I've added his name as the beneficiary. So you have that. Documentary evidence of financial support between you and sponsor insured expenses. The joint bank account statement would help. Proof of the relationship by the family members. You have that. Proof of past cohabitation. If you're not currently living together but did at one point in the past. And we don't know exactly how we can do that, but in our case, we lived in a rented space for 3-4 months. We have that notary letter that we lived here. And in our case also, if you have a Aadhaar card, you can change the address on your Aadhaar card to the same address and have those copies attached, which tells you that you've lived in the same address. And that's where it is. Now you move to the section. This was the section I was talking about the signatures. You see, this really helps you that you should not miss any signature, because it says application will be returned. So this really helps you with specific question. You check all of them that you have marked, you have physically signed these with your pen and paper, whatever. And if does not apply, you say not applicable, authority to release personal information not applicable, and all these forms were applicable, and this is not applicable. So you click on that part and you make sure everything is there. And it's pretty simple. And also, I would say do this first thing. It helps you to prepare accordingly the what needs to be collected for your file. And I wish you all the best. If any questions, you can leave the comment and I will try to address that. Thank you.